Hi everyone, welcome to the October 17th meeting of TRIAD. We have a guest speaker today, and I probably will really mess up her last name, but Deanna Wheel.
Pretty close, Dina Guial.
Great, Wheel. Let me read her, and I'm going to read off from here all of her title basically. Because she is the MPA Berkshire Liaison Community Engagement Division of the Executive Bureau from the Office of the Attorney General, Maura Healy. Welcome, Dina. Yeah, so I'm going to turn the floor over to her and get some words of wisdom from her and the Attorney General's office.
So I didn't realize that I would be on film today or that I would have all of you here. I would have prepared a little bit differently, but I think a good place to start is why I'm here. So when our Attorney General first came to Berkshire County, she promised that if she were elected, she would have a representative here in the county, have a direct line to her office. And that time has come, and that person is me. And the reason why she promised that is because through working at the Attorney General's office, one of the things that she found as an assistant Attorney General was that part of the job, which is getting our services and resources to the community, is impeded when the community doesn't know what you do or where you are or how to find you. And I think that's a logical distinction that we all can kind of understand. So I officially came on just a few months back, and my work has mostly consisted so far of introducing myself to people, because that's how you build relationships. So what we're looking to do, and what I'm looking to do with all of you now and into the future, is to build that relationship so that our office knows what you need and what the community of Dalton and all these other towns and cities throughout the county are experiencing. And maybe areas that you may need assistance or your neighbors. Some of the things that we're focused on right now include fraud and scams. I'm sure you are all aware of the terrible telephone scams and internet scams and all of that. Unfortunately, we can't stop those perpetrators on the state level because most of the time, not only are they out of the state, but they are out of the country. But what we can do is come to events like this and meet with people like yourselves to teach you how to avoid and how to recognize those scams, or teach you how to help your friends if you notice that your friend or a loved one may be getting wrapped up into something. And diversion and avoiding those things from happening is the number one protection that we can have. Some of the other areas of work that we do, we have a really fun training called Savvy Seniors, which is really just all the tips of how to not get scammed, tips of how to, navigate certain situations, whether it be with credit reporting or scams or even insurance-related things. The list goes on, and it's a pretty comprehensive training. We also do consumer rights, and all of these are trainings that we do. So they're topics, but they're also trainings. We do consumer rights, and I think one of the most popular ones, especially here in Berkshire County, as opposed to other parts of the state, is are those that are related to buying a car, a used car, or also repairs on a car. We're seeing a lot of, I'll say, unkind practices or undesirable things that we're seeing that maybe consumers aren't being treated well, and it's good for people to know their rights and when they can tell a seller or a mechanic that what they're doing is not okay, and they know that they have the Attorney General on their side in that. It's amazing what just a phone call can do from our office to help fix those situations too. Another big thing that we're focusing on now, which I'm interested to hear from you if you're seeing a lot of this, is e-cigarettes. E-cigarettes seem to be everywhere, and vaping. Your grandchildren, your children, maybe even yourselves are using them. And at first, folks thought that they were healthier or maybe even healthy, and an alternative to traditional cigarettes. And what we're finding is that there's a really really deceptive sales practice that happen, and they're actually very dangerous, and there are more carcinogens in these e-cigarettes and cancer-causing agents than regular cigarettes. And since 2015, that market has grown by 900%, and most of that is to youth, which is why our office is suing the largest producer, which is Juul. It's the main producer, and we're looking to educate people on that too, and help divert people to programs that will help them get off nicotine, particularly kids. We're seeing a lot of kids smoking them. Lastly, so as she mentioned, I work in the community engagement division, which means that we go out and we connect with the community. We go to the people where they are, when they're there. It's not a regular 9 to 5 job. If there is an event at 8 p.m. and it makes sense for our office to be there, I will be there. If you have a tip on something, I'd love to know about it. And then in addition to that, I do work with the policy and government team, and that's where really connecting with our community leaders comes into play to get the messages back to our office as far as what their constituents are experiencing and different ways that we can help. Do any of you have questions? Can I answer any questions?
Is there any literature out there about those e-cigarettes?
Yes.
There is, because I know a person that smokes inside the house, and there's a little 2-year-old running around, and I don't think he even realizes, how dangerous that is.
We do have some literature on it, and I'm happy to get that to you.
Okay.
I can even get a stack brought here,
Okay.
so everybody else can have access to it.
All right.
And the other thing about that too is one of the reasons why Attorney General Healy is going after Juul is specifically because the products were marketed as not having nicotine.
Right.
And they're being sold to children. And your generation knows that this is something that the tobacco industry did. They specifically marketed toward children. And that's what we're seeing done again. So not only are some adults operating with wrong information, but this company was really doing some shady business, I guess. So yes, I can get that to you.
Okay.
I actually went to a presentation on vaping, and there is a condition called popcorn lung that can kill you.
Yes.
It's from vaping. You're just like a popcorn, your lung explodes and it kills you.
So we have
no idea about any of that.
We have a presentation that we do for vaping also, and over the summer, we went to different youth programs that our office funded, and we presented this anti-vaping information to the youth. And that was the one point in the presentation where I told the kids that if they had smartphones, it was okay to take them out. And I asked them to Google popcorn lung. And it was the moment when their attention shifted and they started to pay attention to me. Before that, I was just this old lady talking to them. They were like 10. They didn't want to hear it. But as soon as they saw that, their attention shifted and they realized that if they were doing it or if their friends were doing it, it was to be taken seriously. And popcorn lung, it's a very serious thing. Your lungs get hard, they don't contract, they don't do their job. Any other questions?
Dina, I have a couple questions. I don't know if you had mentioned, so I know you're here, you're kind of in transit.
Yeah.
Are you going to have this market up here, like an office here in Berkshire County, like a little satellite office for you?
So right now, just by nature of the way the office is set up, we have 4 offices. We have Boston, New Bedford, Worcester, and Springfield. My main office is Springfield as of now, which makes sense because of the nature of work I'm doing, because I'm the only one here. I'm kind of doing a little bit of everything. I need to know what's going on in all the different departments. So being in Springfield is really helpful right now. I'm only there 2 days a week. The rest of the time, I am traveling up and down the county to meet with people. The plan in the future is to hopefully find a spot here.
Do you have business cards?
Yes, of course.
And also, I had another question. The Berkshire Consumer Protection Program that's run on Berkshire Housing, you on, when they have, you know how they do a lot of mediation? Do they report back to you, and do you keep a database of all the shady businesses that people should be wary of or clear of? Because there was a woman that was here many years ago, her name was Lillian Marcantel, and she used to keep a local database of, you know, whenever she fielded a phone call from a resident about something. She kept a database, and I thought she'd report that back to the AG's office. I don't know. That's what I was always told.
Okay.
So my question's two-part. I'm sorry. The first one is whether or not Berkshire Housing actually reports back to you on you know, what they work on.
So their program is funded through our office.
Right.
So it's a partnership.
Okay.
We do have constant communication with them.
Okay.
The details on the reporting and how accessible that is, I don't have an answer to that right now. But I will say that for expediency and some issues, going to the local community legal aid is a really good idea, and I encourage all of you to utilize that resource.
That's CLA.
Or CLA, I'm sorry, yeah.
That's another one. There's a lot of them.
Living waters are crossing, I'm sorry. But utilizing those resources are really important. But at the same time, if there is a company that's repetitively deceiving people or taking advantage of people, it's still a good idea to file a complaint with our office, because similar to some issues with larger corporations, and I'm sure we can all think of a few examples in this room right now, our office cannot open an investigation unless we have our own database of complaints. So we need to be able to build a case and to gain a perspective of what all these different consumers are getting. And the best way to do that from our office's perspective is to file a complaint with us. Anything else? Yeah.
Is the Attorney General working with anyone on Channel 22 and Channel 5 Boston? Losing that, because those of us here in the Western End are really missing those channels.
Well, our AG is very upset and disturbed by the way all of that has shaken out. There are a lot of things wrong with it. You know, people here, we don't have access to our government. We don't have access to knowing what's happening on the other side of the state. And that is something that she's very aware of. So yes, we are trying our best to have that change. There are different avenues to do that, and those are being explored. So she is on it, she's focused on it, and I will say too that there are many different angles of looking at it, and this goes back also to the consumer protections thing. If you feel that Spectrum or Charter has in some way deceived you, filing a complaint with our office is really helpful for building a case. I can't tell you if there's an ongoing investigation, but you know, if there were, that wouldn't be something we would talk about, and we wouldn't publicize all of our data. But we need stories in order for that to ever happen.
So what's your number?
I'm going to give you a piece of paper that you can mail into our office, or you can do it online, and I'll also give you a card.
I'd also like to mention, out at the front desk, there's papers in front of the sign-in sheet or the computer, because the town is actually collecting issues, and probably on behalf of you and the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission. So I'm guessing it's probably a partnership between all of you. So you can also send it to the town hall.
That's great. So I guess since we do have a camera here, if people need to contact me as the Berkshire liaison, my cell is the best because I travel for most of my time. It would be 413-372-3534. And I can also be emailed at Dina, D-I-N-A, Guiel, G-U-I-E-L, at state.ma.us. There's a dot between Dina and Guiel. We have really good decent government outside. Are there any other questions? No? All right, thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome to stay. I know it looks like you have a meeting at 2. More than welcome to stay for as long as you can. All right, well, we don't have our police chief here today, but we do have Officer DeMorrow here.
Hi everybody, how's everyone today? Are we enjoying this new cold we're getting finally? It's fall finally here. I've never been so excited for fall ever. I'm not sure how I feel about, 70, 80 degree weather in October. Something that just doesn't quite feel right about that. So I'm very happy to see the fall leaves, and I hope all of you are getting in the spirit as well. So a couple of big things in Dalton, which I know I talked about this last time, and unfortunately, we're just really moving right along with this, continuing, and I'm sure Mary can contest with this as well. Motor vehicle break-ins, that's been the theme. It's not stopping, it's not slowing down, it's getting worse. When I say break-ins, I use that lightly because the people that are doing this are not really breaking in, they're sort of opening unlocked doors and going into vehicles, okay? This is still happening. It's particularly happening in the area of Dalton known as the Flats, which is the Park Ave area, yeah, where some of you probably live. The Park Ave, Ashlat Street, Pine Street, Oak Street, High Street area of Dalton, that kind of flat area by the park. So again, they're going into vehicles that are unlocked, unsecured. They know exactly what they're looking for. They're primarily looking for wallets, change, cash. If someone were to leave a prescription medication that had some type of street value or resale value, they would take that and maybe discard things like vitamins or things like that. Again, I'm going to stress, lock your vehicles, set alarms. If you have a garage where you can park your vehicle in it, park it in it. Lock your car in the garage, lock the garage. They are going into unlocked garages, into unlocked vehicles, and as a matter of fact, in the last couple of weeks, we've gotten reports of people trying to go into houses. So be aware of that. The breaking and enterings are happening during the nighttime hours. So anywhere from 11 p.m. to 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. So it's definitely somebody is going in under the cover of darkness, wearing dark clothing, definitely trying to hide. These are not people that are looking to get caught. They're trying to do this secretively and quietly, and they are coming through backyards and really just trying to make easy hits is what I would call it. They are not trying to break windows or set off alarms. They really just want to get in and get out quickly. You may find, if you were to leave your vehicle unlocked, that this person would open the door, go into your glove compartment, your center consoles, go through it, take what they want, and leave things scattered. Leave the glove box open, leave things open and ajar, leave the doors open and ajar. For a second time, we've had a motor vehicle stolen. Somebody had a motor vehicle stolen out of Pittsfield. They drove that vehicle to Dalton and stole a second vehicle. If you can imagine that. Kind of an interesting investigation, but that's what happened. So somebody left their vehicle unlocked with their keys in it. This person took that vehicle and drove it to another vehicle whose doors were unlocked and the keys were inside. I cannot stress enough. I wish I could tell you that we lived in a time where we don't have to worry about locking our doors and setting our alarms. It's just not reality anymore. You know, we live in a time where we cannot necessarily trust that everyone that we meet means to do us well, unfortunately. I don't think that these are people who are a person that is necessarily violent, but they're clearly breaking the law. So I would not take this person on yourself. Call 911 if you see anything, hear anything. The department is taking this extremely seriously. We are stepping up our game to try to put on extra patrols and try to assist and be very vigilant and aware and respond to anything anything that appears or looks to be odd. So if you find yourself out walking the dog at 2 a.m., be aware an officer may stop and talk to you. Not in a way that would be inappropriate or hostile, but just concerned, taking notice and being aware, doing our job to be as proactive as we can possibly be. But just be aware that we live in a community. We have officers on, but we can't be everywhere at once. So everything that you all can do is huge. Each and every one of you has a set of eyes and ears that have all the senses that we have, and so if you see something, call us. You're not bothering us. You're never, ever, ever bothering us. We're a 24/7 department, and oftentimes, you know, we're waiting for a call. We're waiting to hear from somebody because we signed up to do this job for a reason. The last thing we want to do is sit in our car and be bored. You know, we want the calls. We want you to tell us. We don't want to hear 5 days later, oh, I think maybe I saw something. Tell us in the moment when it happens, because we can't do anything about it if we don't know what to do or if we don't know where things are happening. So that's the biggest thing going on right now is the break-ins. Aside from that, we do have 2 part-timers that are still in training. So you may see them out and about during day shift or second shift, occasionally third shift. It's Officer Gaudette and Officer Baroli, both very proficient. They're moving along and they're training very well. So if you happen to see them, they should be with another officer. So you may see 2 officers coming out of 1 cruiser. That's why. That's not necessarily our standard in Dalton. Usually we run 2 cruisers and 2 officers. But if you see, you know, a second officer coming out of a cruiser, that's why. They're in training and they have graduated the academy. They're just as knowledgeable as the rest of us, but we're kind of teaching them the ropes as we go along. Other than that, I don't have anything major. It's really just the breaking and enterings and the theft and those sorts of things that I can comment on for Dalton. So questions? You guys may never
happen every night or?
It's not necessarily happening every night in Dalton. All right, I want to be very specific about that. It's not necessarily happening every night in Dalton. I can't necessarily comment on other communities, although I have heard through, you know, speaking with other departments and other officers that they are certainly seeing an increase in break-ins of buildings, houses, and motor vehicles in other communities in the area. Again, I'm not going to comment on departments that I don't work for, but this is certainly not just a Dalton issue. This is a Berkshire County, Central Berkshire County issue.
How about talking to the Eagle delivery people and see if they spot anything, because they're out too.
That is something that we do on a regular basis.
Yeah,
Matter of
they're out
fact,
all night.
we have an excellent working rapport with our delivery drivers. I know them on a first name basis myself from working the overnight shift for many, many years. So they are very good about bringing our attention to any issue immediately. So that certainly has been done. And then on the flip side, I believe some articles have been printed in the newspaper recently trying to alert everybody about the issues that we're finding in Dalton right now. Yes?
You don't have any idea if it's 1 or 2 at a time, or the same people, or you have no idea it's a single person, or is it like a gang of people that's doing it, or a bunch of them, or?
I can't give you any details with 100% certainty, okay? My suspicion here is that it's 1, possibly 2. I don't think it's this gang of individuals that are coming to Dalton in the middle of the night and breaking. I think we'd see many more break-ins at the same time. I don't know if any of you remember the arson fire that we had several years ago where, you know, there were multiple structures going at the same time. That would be something I would expect to see if we had a gang of people coming into town breaking at the same time. You get a call here, you know, on the flats and we're down in the south end kind of at the same time. And that's not what I'm seeing or we're seeing. What's difficult about the nighttime with residential is when you have commercial break-ins, oftentimes you have video cameras and you can get a little bit more information because you have camera. But when you're dealing with residential, not everyone has cameras. I would say it would be the exception for people to have security cameras on their houses. We've had a couple that have had that, but then again, you're also talking about the nighttime. So now you're talking about night vision cameras and things like that. It just gets very complicated. And you have people that are dressing for the occasion. So they're concealing their identity, they're making efforts to hide, they're making efforts to look for cameras. They're not necessarily picking places where they would know there would be a security camera. So it's difficult. We've got some information, but we don't have enough to make a positive identification at this point. Give us time.
Does that mean prohibitive, then the landlord should put cameras on his building?
There are apartment buildings that have cameras for sure. But again, like I said, this person very well could be searching for that and looking for that. So it's not an exact science. I am confident based on our history of finding people that have done this in the past and prior years that we will find them. I don't think this is a person that's going to stop this behavior without intervention. I don't think one day they just, oh, I'm going to stop doing this now. Why would they? It's paying off. They're getting money. They're getting into cars that are unlocked. That's kind of why I circle back to this idea of we need to be diligent in locking our vehicles, because if the bait is no longer there, they have nothing to come to Dalton for. So we have to be very diligent in speaking to our neighbors and our friends and our family and stressing the issue. Now everyone has free choice, and someone may decide, I'm not worrying about this, and I'm not going to lock my car. That's your prerogative, but be prepared that your vehicle is probably going to get broken into at some point if they come on your street. Questions? Any other questions you have?
Just a comment.
Yeah.
It is happening in Windsor. It
Yes.
is happening in Savoy. Business break-ins with and without cameras.
Yes.
So it's happening all over the place.
Yes.
And I think your comment about locking your car and locking it in a locked garage and setting alarms if you have it is really
Yes.
timely. I think that's really good advice. Thank you.
Yes. And also first floor windows. We've had reports of people trying to get into unsecured buildings, as in residential homes, regardless of whether someone may be home or not. So really keep that in the back of your head. It's getting colder out. I think the likelihood that people are going to have first floor windows open at this time of the year is much smaller than it would be in June or July or August. But just be aware of that. And the other thing I would tell you is if you're going to be going on vacation for any length of time, some recommendations obviously are lock your doors, lock all your windows, lock everything down, and leave lights on. Not all your lights, obviously, but maybe leave a living room light on or a hallway light on. Make it appear that you might be home. And the other thing is we have a vacation log at the department, and I think I've talked about this before, but I'll reiterate it again. You can always, and we encourage that you call the department and let us know when you're going to be on vacation for any extended period of time, so that we can do extra checks of your home to make sure that no one's breaking in. And then I would encourage you to let family members know or neighbors know that, hey, I'm not going to be in town for a week. Could you just, do you mind keeping an eye on the house for me this time, and I'll watch yours when you go away? That's part of living in a community. That's how we all work together and kind of combat this in all directions. We're doing our part as diligently as we possibly can, and I assure you, when we find this person, they will be charged and prosecuted to the fullest extent that we can do. But it really comes down to the community assisting us and calling us and letting us know when there's an issue. Anybody else? Yes.
This is ridiculous, but, and don't put it on Facebook.
You know,
times when I'm like, oh my gosh, you're kidding me.
Facebook is a double-edged sword. That's the reality of it. We live in a day and age where people are just going to use social media. We really have to get to a place where we accept it, but like any other tool, it can be used to hurt us and it can be used to assist us. So what I would say is be cautious what you put on Facebook, be cautious what you say, be very cautious, as we go back to talking about scamming issues and, people being taken advantage of. Facebook is a huge way that people will be taken advantage of. Be careful what information you put out there. Don't advertise your phone number. Don't put your address on there. That's it's like the days of the phone book, but it's far, far easier. So I would be very careful what you put on there, but it can also be used as a tool to let your neighbors know what's going on, to let people aware, hey, my house just got broken into. Please be aware, you know, there's break-ins happening on, you know, Pine Street in Dalton or High Street in Dalton. So it can be a good tool, but yes, it could be a double-edged sword. So please be very, very careful. And certainly anything you don't want everybody knowing, don't put on Facebook, because it's going to spread like wildfire. Anything else? That's it? I don't have anything else unless someone else says something. All right, I'll see you guys.
Thank you very much. And our fire chief hasn't made it today, so I have it highlighted over here so I would not forget. Everybody that's here that comes all the time knows that Jason sits over here. He's so quiet. A lot of times I forget to call on him. Jason, our Deputy Jason Roy from the Sheriff's Department.
Thank you.
Not to embarrass you or anything, but you're all ready.
I'm all ready. I know the camera's rolling. If I could just expand on what Officer DeMuro was saying, I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I will share as far as a vehicle break-in. Years ago, my personal vehicle in my driveway was broken into. Why? I left it unlocked. So if that makes the story a little more impactful for you to know, yes, it does happen. It's not in another community. It's, yes, right here. My vehicle has gone through. The change cup was taken, iPad or iPod, anything with wires, the GPS, all that stuff gone. So yes, it does happen. It's going to happen. It's only a matter of time before it's your vehicle. So if you lock it, that's step number one. And then if you assume, even though you do lock it, take your valuables out that you do not want to come up missing. If you lock your car and leave it at night knowing that you have all your valuables secured in your home with you, and if something does happen to your vehicle and it's broken in, you're okay with what's in there because you have the most important valuable things with you. As far as local scams, phone scams are starting back up again. If you read the paper not too long ago, a person in North County was taken advantage of a pretty large sum of money. It's going to happen. It's going to happen to somebody. And the best thing we can do is to make sure that it doesn't, the chances of it happening to us are greatly reduced. That's just the most important.
I keep getting a scam from North Carolina from some man that wants to buy my house because he's in the area and he'll pay me cash for my closing costs. Adrian, his name is. I've called the police department about it. I don't know whether they can check the phone number I gave them or.
And that's something that's not typical. We know we need a real estate agent.
I know. They asked if I had my house up for sale at the police department, and I don't. And it's the same Adrian. And why?
Just documenting that.
Yeah, I've left a message on there because it's a 704 number, North Carolina, where my son is.
And usually if you answer the phone and it's a
I
number
never answer.
you don't recognize, or just that time where you just get caught off guard, ask them some questions. What's your name? Where are you calling from? And how do I call you back? Because I have to go do something right now, but leave me a good number to call you back directly. We can talk about this more. Usually that's enough for them on the other line, the phone call will end because they don't have that.
Happened to me. Somebody called me this morning, so their name was on my caller ID. And so just before I left, there was her name on the caller ID, so pick it up, think it's her. But it was, obviously it was a scam and I was trying to sell something.
And also with the caller IDs, and I've spoken about it a while back, is you might recognize the number as a local number, a 413 number or a Dalton number 684, and you pick it up, and there's software that you can basically pick a phone number and present that number on your caller ID. I've had times where my phone's ringing me.
Oh, yeah, that hasn't happened in a while.
How is that possible? Or I think it's actually my mom calling. Oh, hi, Mom. And it's,
You can get a Spectrum, you know, to, the robocalls. Spectrum could set
cut
up
down on
some
those
costs,
costs.
and that's it.
There's still programs that can circumvent that also.
Yeah, that does help.
It does reduce them, yes.
I noticed the Dalton calls that are scams come in with the area code 413.
And if you call that number back, you get like a real person that says, I didn't call you. What are you talking about?
Because I was going to say, when I get my friends to call, it's just 684 without the area code. That's frustrating.
So we're all caught up, you know, moving at light speed, you know, so just, if something happens, you know, just take your time, you know, take your time. It's okay to double check, you know, and ask some questions back. And usually that call will end before you get to hang up if you ask those questions.
Very recently, there was a piece on the Channel 10 News about the do not call list. And all these problems that people are having who have signed on to the do not call list, they're still getting all those calls. So I went online and made sure that all three, our house phone number and both ourselves, were still listed. They're all still active, and we're still getting all those do not calls.
Oh, I don't
All
think
those,
that company does
yeah,
anything.
people trying to sell you stuff, and the scammers too. I was sitting here trying to remember the name because I wrote it down at the house. But this woman called and went right off on me about there had been a warrant issued for my arrest. There a criminal thing, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And I finally said, is this a scam? And she just kept yammering at me, and I finally just hung up. It's like, and she didn't call me.
Some of those calls too, you think you're talking to somebody, but it's actually a recorded call, and the call will keep proceeding if you answer
This was a real person.
yes. If you say yes, then the call prompt will keep going, and they're only looking to record certain responses from your voice.
Yeah, we've had those too. But it was interesting because she gave me the name of her company, and I wrote it down, and then she was going to give me the name and number of the lawyer that had issued this legal complaint. And anyway, after I ended the call, I went online, and there are a list of complaints against this company. And some of the information there said it had gone out of business. It's still going. It's crazy.
We've actually gotten at the PD on a recorded line, a phone call, multiple phone calls from somebody doing that, telling us that if we don't pay our taxes, the Dalton PD are gonna come and arrest. So just, it's another thing to be aware of, that just because somebody says it doesn't make it true. And also be very cautious about where you're putting your phone number, like I just said about Facebook. There's been a lot of Craigslist scams. I don't know if you're seeing that, where you put something up for sale on Craigslist, or you're giving it away for free, or whatever you're doing, you put your number on there, and somebody's calling you or texting you from another place, offering you to pay you in what are the cards, gift cards or something. Very, very odd. So just be aware of that too, that it isn't just putting your phone number on these do not call lists, but take a look at your social media accounts. Is your number listed someplace because you listed something for sale 2 years ago, and that's where they're getting your number. So just another way to kind of think about it and be aware of and be cautious of, and just, again, like we're saying, just because they say it doesn't make it true. If we're going to come and arrest anyone, we're going to come to your door and you're going to see a badge, we're not going to call you necessarily, so.
I had a call from a man, indignant, and he said, "You just called me and I don't know who you are." Now, should I call him back and say, "No, I never called you, they must have used my number"?
It's probably a case where he got a phone call from an agency and your number came up. So when he called the caller ID, because I've done that, he called back and said, take my number off the list. And the caller that I called said, I don't know what you're talking about. Why are you calling me? I said, well, you just called me. No idea. So now there's like this disconnect.
Should I call back or should I?
I wouldn't even call back. Don't even call
And
back.
don't tell me.
It's just it's from firsthand experience, it's a wasted extra step. You're just gonna,
And the police.
you're gonna talk to someone unassuming, just like yourself, that's just unaware that their number was captured.
Awesome. Jason, thank you. We don't have Dan Filio from the Dalton Emergency Management here today. I understand they're right out straight doing a lot of things, and Susan Rathborn, the chief of police up there in Hinsdale, had no representative here today either. But we do have our executive director from the Council on Aging over here in the corner, Kelly Busy.
I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but I do have a couple of announcements. Finally, we have a date for the acoustic panels to be installed, so hopefully your next meeting will not quite be so difficult to hear. They're going to be installed on the 13th and the 14th of November, which is next month. Not quite sure if that interferes with TRIAD or not.
I was just chuckling because I had highlighted Jason because I usually miss him. And now we've skipped over Mary because I usually go right directly to Mary.
Am I lucky?
To the mind, it's got to be the age, I think. Anyway, sorry, Kelly.
So at any rate, the panels are going up. There's going to be a lovely special one over here that I can't wait to unroll.
It is beautiful.
It is going to be beautiful. It's going to be the Dalton train station from back at the turn of the century, and it's lovely. So it's very exciting. The other thing that's going to be happening is where the exercise equipment, we're expecting that to be shipped next week. So groundbreaking for that is going to happen relatively soon. So we're going to have 7 pieces of outdoor exercise equipment, such as stationary bikes, the ski walkers, the rowing machine, chest press, lateral pull, leg press, pommel horse, and something else. Can't think of what it is. But, so very exciting. Unfortunately, it's going to be a very cool fall, probably early winter, so I don't know how much use it's going to get initially. But hopefully, starting next spring, when things start warming up, we'll get a lot of activity out there. So. And then the other thing we're going to be doing is we're going to have an open house when these 2 things are done to roll them out to the community. We might possibly be doing a name the exercise trail contest. So we'll have some lovely prizes for that. And then probably I'll be able to name at the open house when we do that. The other thing that's happening is invitations went out today for the Veterans Lunch, which is going to be November 9th. We are going to be raising a flag for Annie Radigan, which is Ed Radigan's aunt, who spent 6 years in the Army back between 1941 and 1948. So it's 8 years. So during World War II at any rate. So I'm doing a little bit of research for what we're going to be saying about her. But it'd be nice again for our Dalton veterans and those that participate in the Veterans History Project. If anybody doesn't know what that is, see Mary Lamke. Or the Dalton TV station.
Well, actually, along those lines, I just finished the 91st CD for the Veterans History Project. A gentleman who was in the Navy as a Navy corpsman, but worked with the Marines. And one way I learned an awful lot about listening to him and his program, or what he had done during his service. His parents, 2 brothers rather, were in the Navy in World War II. And then he joined up because he wanted to follow his older brothers. And he ended up in Vietnam after many years. He was long-term, made a career out of it, so it was very interesting. The CDs, once they're done, they go down to the National Archives in Washington, D.C. And the ones that are taped here locally through the Dalton Cable TV, thank you very much over there, Rich, they put them on most every Saturday. They have one of the recordings on. So it's an awesome program. If you know of any veterans that have not done the program, please let Kelly know over at the TV station. Ty Bellinger is usually the one that does the recordings, and he's very active in the program also. So there's many outlets that you can call and let people know. Let the veterans know. We're looking for veterans to get them recorded before they pass on. World War II, we've lost a lot of them, and this last one, like I said, was a Vietnam vet. So, okay.
And what a wonderful thing to be able to leave for your families afterwards, because they'll have an image, recorded live image, your voice, and your history all at once. And because in World War II, so much is undocumented that these oral histories are so important. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Cal.
Okay.
It's awesome how it works is we give the veteran a copy of the CD with his story on it and his story transcribed. So he has a hard copy also, or more of them for his family, so it's awesome. I did it again. I remember Jason, but I forgot Mary. See, 2 years up here is enough. New body up here.
That's okay, Mayor. Nothing personal. Hi, everyone. I wanted to report, first of all, what's going on in the rest of the triads. On Monday, we hosted Mayor Tyre, and she gave a very complete and thorough presentation about the current events of the city. The parking kiosks, the condition of the roads, the street lights, the taxes, the upcoming election. She really covered the whole gamut. So she actually did a great job, kept everybody very, not entertained, but everyone was very, very interested to hear what she had to say. And that was very good. So that's Pittsfield. All for Great Barrington and Egremont, that collaboration in Tyringham, haven't had meetings lately. We're hoping to keep those up again soon. Last month, we had the executive director of the Shine program come and talk to the North Adams Triad. They expressed an interest in wanting to hear about health insurance. And for those of you who don't know, Elder Services, I hope I'm not mistaken, but I believe that they have saved people in Berkshire County over $3 million in health insurance that didn't need to be paid. Going to a Shine counselor, I'm sure Kelly can probably expand a little bit, but I was told it was $3 million. I could be wrong. It was some significant amount.
It is a significant amount. I'm not sure what it is, but here the Shine counselor is Patty Carroll. Who works on Mondays and Thursdays.
Yes. So if you have questions about your own health insurance and you would like someone who knows very well about the ins and outs of health insurance, who's been certified to speak to people about that, even in the form of a Shine counselor, Patty Carroll, you just call the COA office and make an appointment. Even if you just have questions about your insurance, I think it's important to inquire, make sure that the insurance that you have is adequate for you, because it's not one size fits all. So I would encourage people to look into that if you have any questions about that.
Mary,
Yes.
can I add actually that's a really good announcement. Patty Carroll is doing a presentation on health insurance and choosing the supplemental insurance because open enrollment has begun. That's going to be on the 12th here. So even though the center is closed because of the holiday, Patty's still going to be doing her presentation.
Great. I think it's definitely worthwhile if you
What
have.
time is she doing it?
I got to check that.
So I would encourage people to take advantage of that. If you have any questions regarding the coverage that you have of health insurance. Just to veer off TRIAD a little bit, I'm sure everyone's been reading in the newspaper about the level of violence that's been going on. Very disturbing, very upsetting, between shootings and stabbing recently. I I want to commend the Pittsfield Police Department. They worked very quickly and very hard to apprehend the people who were responsible for the last homicide that just happened the other day. So I just wanted to just publicly just bring that to everyone's attention. Regarding Berkshire Protective Services, we continue to get the financial exploitation referrals. Please, 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 I know I say this ad nauseum, but please give a lot of thought to when you're doing any modifications of your own bank accounts. If you're, adding someone onto your account, making it a joint account, if you are preparing your advanced directives, your healthcare policies, your powers of attorney, give a lot of thought to who you're naming in those documents. I cannot stress that enough. Oftentimes in these financial exploitation referrals that I get from Berkshire Protective, I read them and I determine which police department should then go and investigate them criminally. And inevitably, these pieces of information always come into play, whether or not there's a joint account, whether or not, oftentimes these financial exploitation referrals are being perpetrated by family members. So it's very, very important to give a lot of thought to who you are designating even for healthcare processing, your power of attorney, your joint accounts. Give it a lot of thought because it might make a difference as to whether or not we can prosecute a case. There was one other thing I wanted to say, and I don't remember, so I'm sorry about that. Does anybody have any questions about TRIAD or the office or otherwise? I can maybe answer. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Charlie has something over here to add, by the sound.
The Medicare overview with Patty Perry is on the 12th at 9 a.m. here. So if anybody has any questions, good program for like newly retired or soon to be retired people to take also because there's a lot to the insurance.
I'm going to expand on what Mary had to say about the end of life too. Because I deal with people with developmental disabilities, we just found out through one of the agencies I work with, if you have a MOST form, which is that end of life, your wishes for it, if you signed it at a different time from when the doctor had signed it, it's not valid. So you really have to check that out and make sure that the same time that the doctor signed it is the same time that you have signed it. Because what had happened, there was an incident where a person had ended up going into the emergency room. The guardian who had signed it prior to the doctor signing it. Apparently she had not had a complete explanation of all what it meant. And this person ended up in the emergency room for hours. She had checked no fluids to be administered. So this person, even though he or she had been there for something minor, because the MOST form said do not administer any fluids, this person lay there for hours in the emergency room with no fluids whatsoever. So please check your MOST forms. Anyways, just a little bit of something. All right, moving right on to old business. We did have a bylaw committee meeting on September 24th, and it's in the works. Two of the committee members are not here today, so we'll report on it most likely in November. Moving on to new business, our November meeting is scheduled for the day before Thanksgiving. Who's cooking for us for Thanksgiving? I think we probably need to change that date. So for that, I need to turn to Kelly over here and see if either the week before is open or what is going on for November. Should be the 14th.
Well, the week before is the day that the acoustic panels are being put in.
Okay.
So we're going to be closed that day.
Closed on the 14th. Just to jump ahead a little bit though, can we move it back to The 7th? I mean, that's only not that far away from where we are now. And the other reason I think we need to meet, I was thinking that we could actually cancel it, but either that or I need to have people jump in and say they're gonna help for the Christmas party, because following that November meeting, actually, the Christmas party would fall on the 19th, which is fairly close to Christmas again. So, open to suggestions here. What would you like to do?
Have it on the 19th.
The Christmas party.
You're in the Christmas spirit.
So that means all the planning needs to be done today.
Right. You're gonna head up the committee, correct, Harry?
Oh, what's her name does that?
What's her name?
Jenny always wants to do that.
Jenny's not here to defend
She
herself.
always wants to do it.
She'll take the reservations. She
Right.
doesn't plan the rest of it.
All right, I will get together with Kelly after the meeting today and see when we can get it in here. Like I said, today is really
Would you be opposed to changing the date? You mean
to a different day.
to a different day, like the Friday before, perhaps?
I would not. The Friday before would be the 16th of November.
For the triad meeting, you mean?
Yes,
November meeting.
November 16th for the regular triad
November 15th.
16th.
16th, Friday.
How does that sound for everyone?
It's on Friday.
It's a Friday the 16th, yes.
At 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock.
That's fine.
Is that good?
Sounds good to me.
That'll be sent out in email anyhow.
I will do that. I will send out an email and let everybody know it's the 16th in planning for the Christmas party. So on to the Christmas party, holiday party. Change that. It's the 12th. She just
What was wrong with the other?
I'm sorry, I'm just writing notes.
Could we change it to the 12th of December for the holiday party?
Sounds good to me.
Well, we gotta see if it's available.
I just need to check because, Dawn's got all the dates of any special events. And we're gonna be, well, the holiday party here will be on a Thursday, so that's a non-issue.
The 13th, probably. I think last year you followed the holiday party here with our holiday party the day before, if I remember correctly.
A lot of work, need people to help.
Oh, yeah.
Along those lines, if I may. Speaking of work and all that, so I'm going to check with Kelly to follow up on that and let you all know. This coming Saturday, the Friends of the Council on Aging are having a wonderful craft fair here. And the Friends of the Council on Aging are the money-raising aspect of the senior center, the Council on Aging. Because the Council on Aging being a nonprofit, they cannot solicit funds. Being a municipal apartment, thank you, Sue, thank you. So they cannot raise funds, but the Friends of the Council on Aging do. So we would love to have everyone come to the craft fair on Saturday the 20th. The doors open at 9 o'clock in the morning. And we're going to have homemade chili, homemade chicken soup, fresh cornbread to go with the chili, and fresh rolls to go with the soup, and all kinds of wonderful crafts. And we can always use men's help afterwards to help clean up.
Yeah,
Anyway.
we do need help.
We do need help.
At 3 o'clock on Saturday. And if I might add, Mike Melly, for those of you who might be familiar with his straw sculptures that he's had all over the county, Mike is going to be here for the day, creating one of his sculptures. He hasn't told me what it is yet, and he will be leaving it for us to raffle off at the end of the day. Yes. So I'm very excited about that. And this is the first year we're expanding and having vendors outside. So Mike will be out there with 4 or 5, 6 maybe other vendors outside. So I really, in addition to what this area is going to offer, for crafts and homemade beautiful things. We're gonna have more crafts outside. So
Having a tent?
they have to bring their easy-ups. Yeah, they'll all be under their own easy-ups.
Let's hope for good weather for them outside, and we'll be inside working in the kitchen. Thank you all for coming. I will. Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to say, you have raffle stuff out there now
Yep.
that you're selling tickets for. Is there a container for the melee sculpture?
Yes,
Yes.
yep,
I didn't see it out
yep,
there.
Mary brought it in.
It arrived this afternoon.
I'll buy my tickets today.
Don't forget the 50/50.
And the treasurer's. Yes.
Treasurer's report?
Well, do we have money?
As of September 25th, we have $595.70.
Which helps pay for the holiday party. Thank you, everyone. Rich, thank you so much for coming to record the meeting.
You're welcome.
And possibly we'll see you at the craft fair and future TRIAD meetings. Thank you.